Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Totally Naked. I'm Dante Buxton, and I'm joined by my three other co-hosts, Dominique, Jax, and April. And today we're talking about love languages. So we want to jumpstart the conversation with a few questions, and then we're going to have some context, right? So let's get it started. So when do you feel the most validated? Is it when someone gives you a thoughtful gift, a hug, makes you breakfast, gives you their undivided attention, tells you that they love you? When do you feel the most fulfilled in a romantic relationship? Gary Chapman, the author of the book Five Love Languages, says that there are basically five love languages, five ways that people speak and understand emotional love. In the field of linguistics, a language that has numerous dialects and variations. Similarly, within the five basic emotional love languages, there are many dialects. Important thing is to speak the love language of your spouse, right? So, knowing your love languages gives you the communication to explain what's most important to meet your emotional needs, also the insight to figure out what's important to your partner so you can best meet their emotional needs. So, let's go in depth and let's talk about the five love languages, right? So, Jax, what are they?
Yeah, so before we go any further, of course, we want to know exactly what those five love languages are. The first one would be words of affirmation. So this is, an encouraging word of appreciation and also active listening, making sure that your partner is listening to what you have to say. The second one would be quality time. So in uninterrupted focus. So not only you just being with the person, but that you're really intent in listening on their conversation, um, one thing at a time. So making sure that the time that you spend with your love is quality time. The third one would be receiving gifts. So making sure that there's thoughtfulness behind gifts, not just, hey, I ran into the store and got you a gift card,
Gift card.
but there's
What?
actual thought behind what the gift is that you're actually giving. The fourth one would be physical touch. So this is like that nonverbal communication, making sure that maybe when you're on the couch and you're watching TV, that there's some type of contact there. And then the last one would be acts of service. So letting them help you, making sure that you're actually lightening the load on your loved one.
So many of us, so the four of us, maybe over time or recently, as we were preparing for this episode, took the quiz. And so, guys, what was your primary love language? Based on what were your results?
Well, since I'm already talking,
Uh-huh.
Okay.
mine was very distinct. I basically had a
Oh
1A
Lord.
and 1B. My number one thing is acts of service, like what are you doing to assist. And then my number two, which was like a point or two off, was words of affirmation. So I'm really, really high on positive words, reaffirming words. I love like handwritten notes and stuff like that. So it's like acts of service and words of affirmation.
Come through.
Okay.
That's what's
Um,
up.
Okay, so mine was acts of service was number one. And so I ended up taking it again, right? Because the first time it was the first time it was acts of service and it was words of affirmation too. But I took it again and then it was still acts of service was the primary, but the second one was quality time. So I think that now that the older that I'm getting, I am appreciating and valuing time and what it means, to spend that time. But still, acts of service is at the top for your girl.
You know it.
That's
okay.
what's up.
Mhm.
April, how about you?
All right. So I had never taken the test before, but I did listen to the audio book of um five love languages. And so from listening to it, I was like, oh, yeah, quality time is like my primary love language. And my secondary love language, I was like, okay, based on what I was listening to, it had to be physical touch. I was like, okay, physical touch is it. But since I knew we were doing this show, I was like, you know what, April, just take the quiz. And when I took the quiz, yes, I did score high, and my primary love language is quality love language. But I was so surprised when I
It's
realized that I did
quality language.
not like to be touched. I don't like. was the questions that they
It's,
asked. It was like,
I hear
okay,
you.
so they gave you options, and so it was like, would you want someone to hold your hand, or would you rather get a good gift? And I was
It's all
like,
of that. It's all of that,
I
right?
yeah, I would rather get a good gift. And then would you rather get a hug by someone you don't know? And I'm like, no, I
No,
don't want a hug. So no, man, I scored so low. But I feel like in my heart, I'm like, I thought that I was like a touchy feely type of person, but I don't want you. I guess the PDA that they was displaying, it was just seemed too much for me. But so my primary love language is quality time. That's how, like, if you want to get me, sit me down on the couch. I really want to talk about it, and I don't need you to be on your phone.
I get it.
Oh, that part. So let me
okay.
ask you guys this: is there a love language?
You
What's
moving a little too
the love language?
slow. Shorty.
I know
No,
we skipped
no,
right
right?
over you.
No,
We skipped right
yeah.
over.
Okay, so my primary love language is how I get. Okay, so I'm gonna do both. So my primary love language, how I express love, is through acts of service. How I like to receive love, or how what that is for me primarily, is definitely tied between acts of service and quality time. I feel like, y'all know I'm very deep, and so my I really do believe that quality time is essential. I feel like we get so bogged down with the day to day that it feels good for me to just be able to come home to someone that I really love, care about, and enjoy doing life with. So I would say for me, it's a tie between quality time and acts of service. All right. Um,
Okay.
what?
And you're saying that, and that's the love language that you like to receive love
That's
in. But
correct.
you give love different.
No, my love language to friends, family, they is acts of service. Definitely, I'm a giver. I'm a doer, just naturally. Yeah, that's me. Okay, so back to my question before y'all cut me off.
Lord,
So, is there
Yes.
a language that you think you would have a difficulty giving, even if it was your lover's primary love language, but not your own?
that's a
Oh
good
yeah.
question.
Physical
Which
touch.
one?
Explain,
Okay.
Dominique.
Physical touch. Okay, hold on. Seriously, it's two of them. Physical touch and the receiving and giving gifts. First of all, I'm a terrible gift giver. Like, when I think about doing something nice to somebody, I'm not thinking about gifts. Okay, I'm not thinking about gifts. I'm terrible. And then the touch, I don't always want to be touching you. I'm not that girlfriend that got to sit up underneath her dude while he doing something, watching sports, just got to be touching on him. I just don't want you touching me. I don't want you trying to, you know, you know how guys just be kind of standing all up behind you in public. Don't do that to me. I'm not really a physical touchy kind of
Okay, how about you, Jax?
Well, my thing is number one, I am a very good gift giver. Anybody who has ever received anything from me, like I don't just run in the store and get you something. If I'm giving you a gift, like it's because I know that it's something that you need. Like I know what your favorite color is. I know that you could probably use this. It's going to be something that takes a lot of thought. That I can't just, oh, they're having a birthday today, let me just run in and get something. I can't, like I don't do that. There has to be thought behind it. But the one love language would probably mirror Dominique's. And that is definitely the physical touch, because I mean I like touching, but it's like I don't need you up under me like all the time. I'm like go do something. Like why? Like you don't have to be up under me every single time I turn around. And the whole public displays of affection for me is kind of like I think you're kind of doing a little much when I see other people doing it. So it's like that would probably be the number one thing.
What are your thoughts?
It's okay, only because okay, because I know you have a question, and I'm going to answer that. But I just find it interesting that when it comes to giving love, the languages that I was the lowest on, when it comes to receiving, is like my high points. Like I like that whole touchy feely thing. When I'll do it. Like I'm grabbing butts, I'm grabbing shoulders, I'm rubbing.
That's right. That's
Oh,
right. That's right. Love on your man.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but
Love
for
on your
me,
man.
it's like, don't do that to me in the public. Don't grab my butt, because then I'm like, stop. Why you doing that? But I will do that. I will want to grab you. And Lord, I know this is a Christian show. And the Lord, like, He's gonna have to give me like a husband, so I can just be grabbing on him, because I do. I like to do that to you, but I don't want you doing it to me. All right. So the point of it is, it's like, it's so crazy when you talk about what would be tough for me to do, because I want to spend all my time with you.
Yeah.
If I had to, like, giving gifts, I like to give gifts too. Like, I'm a big giver as well. And I know y'all gonna be like, look, Wayne, you got something that's low. I really will do my best to give things. Maybe the acts of service can do some work. Maybe I can use some work on acts of service, because maybe I would rather you cook for me than me cook for you. It's okay.
Look at
I be
look
looking for
look.
chefs. I
I'm
be
just
looking for
listening.
chefs. I do.
I'm just listening to old double standard April over there. And
I was thinking that.
It's the truth. I be like,
But
don't
here's
touch
the thing.
me. Don't touch me. But oh yes, why you grabbing me there? I'm sorry. I don't know. I wanted to see what it'll do. I don't know. I'm sorry. I apologize. I know this is a Christian show.
But isn't that crazy that there's sometimes a double standard in that? For me specifically, I would say that I I'm a great gift giver as well, and I do like to receive gifts, but I think for me, words of affirmation. Like, I'm not
really,
I think well, no, I take that back. Rewind.
You're an
Rewind.
encourager. Are
I
you
would
an
say
encourager?
I am an encourager, but the thing is, I'm not like in a relationship, I'm not like that. I'm an encourager, but not like all the time. Like, when you down, yes. In the middle of the day, yes. But I'm not excessive with it. I think for me, quality time is the thing that I would say probably is like, only because I don't feel like I need to be all up under you all the time. Like, I'm good. Of course, I love, Netflix and chill, cuddle moments, date nights. I'm big on that. But I'm really big on date nights. I'm really big on all of that stuff. But for me, I enjoy my space. And I think that has not always been the case, which I think this conversation on love languages is good, because my love languages when I was younger has changed based on my growth and my priority. Like,
right?
for me now, at this age, although I'm still very young, mm, I enjoy spending time by myself. I'm learning that. Of
Mhm.
course, I enjoy companionship, being booed up, date nights, going outside, going out, walks in the park, all that stuff. But at the core, I do enjoy being by myself. So
Right.
all the time may not be. And, some people, I say that because there are a lot of people who are not necessarily clingy, but they definitely need to be up under you all the time. Like, babe, where you going? Don't go nowhere. Up, sit up under me. Da, 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 da. So I think that it just depends on where the priorities are. But mine have definitely shifted or changed
I
as
think it's
I've gotten
I
older.
can no. The thing is, I can definitely see. I can
Go ahead.
definitely see where you're coming from, because those of us that are givers, and I think all of us are givers. My thing is, like, since I give so much of myself to other people, like, I need time to recharge myself in order to be able to do that on a continual basis. Because if
Mhm.
I'm around people for too long, to Dante's point, I'll get burnt out, and then all of a sudden you guys won't hear from me in like weeks, because I need time. Like, I
Yeah.
need time.
So
okay. So
wait.
okay.
I think that too, when we talk about what quality time actually is, I don't think it's
Right.
necessarily saying that we are always together. I think it's intentional time that's being spent. Are we doing something? We're not just Netflixing and chilling, but we are actually going, we're having an experience, we are dialoguing, we are creating a moment. I think that if you set an expectation of what does quality time look like. So if your person that you are dating is a quality time type of person, and you're just like, oh, I don't want to be around them all the time, I think that is good. If you viewing and this is your situation, really set the expectation. Like, what do you mean when you say you want to spend quality time? Because we're always together. and really listen to them and really hear what they got to say, because I think that that's where it comes into play of how you give love and receive love. In my personal opinion, from my experience, it's kind of been the same. What I want done to me is kind of how I treat other people, so it's like a hint, that's how you treat me, right?
Right.
I think, but when you get to a place of selflessness where you say, you know what, I'm going to be a little bit more intentional about what you like.
Yeah.
So if Dominique is an acts of service type of girl, and you know, I just came home from a long day, whatever, and I come home and it's a card in my door with a gift card to Chick-fil-A. Thank you,
Come on.
Ryan. Come through. Like, for me, I feel like that's an act of service, because guess what? Now you have taken away a chore that I know, not necessarily a chore,
And,
but you've taken away something that I don't have to do that anymore. So now, instead of me having to go in the house and cook, I can grab Chick-fil-A, go in the house, watch my show, take a shower, and go to sleep. Thank
and
you,
that's
boo, for
also
hooking.
and that's also a gift.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Okay, so
But
here's a prime example. Okay, I got a prime example of an
It's
act
a
of
thoughtful
service.
gift. It's a
I used
thoughtful
to
gift.
date this guy. Hold on. I used to date this guy who would move my car. So listen, we used to work at the same place. And I used to get to work later than he would get to work. So I used to be parked all the way in the back of the parking lot. He would get off work before me. And every single day, my car would be waiting for me at the front of the building. Like, that's an act of service that I'm like,
Absolutely.
come on, because let's say I miss that. Like, if I I can say I miss anything, but that is acts of service that I guess for me that really touched my heart. I will never forget that forever. That was something that he used to do. So, but go
Yeah,
ahead,
I
I
April.
think
think
Can you
okay,
say?
I wanted to
Go
talk
ahead,
about the
April.
quality before we move forward. Just a little. Y'all talked about quality time, you and Jax both, and y'all talked about like I don't necessarily need to be up under you all the time and doing the Netflix and chill. But my primary love language is quality time. And so I know that Dominique kind of touched on this too, but I
Yeah.
think that the crazy part about it is we really have to define what quality time is, not just, in the sense of what the book says, but what it is for the person. But
Right.
realize that they're like it just is not synonymous for that physical touch. Because to me, doing Netflix and chill, like that's not quality time to me because we're just sitting and watching TV. Like I really would prefer that we're doing stuff together, like actually out of the house, like doing activities. Like, and I know you guys said that you would want your personal space, but like like doing life together, like
But
we
I
we
think,
making moves.
but I do agree with you, April, and that's not to say that I'm a loner. I'm definitely not an introvert at all, and y'all know that. But I would say, for me, when I say that quality time is not something that I'm just like 100% on, it's not because I solely, I think for the major piece is that at this point in my life, I'm looking for that time to really reflect on a lot. I'm reflecting a lot. I find myself doing lately. So for me, I enjoy my space, and I don't think that that's a negative. I think balance is fine, but I think another piece to the five love languages is having a level of consideration, because I think that when we get into our relationship with stronger intensity and we're really really going and we're out of the honeymoon phase after the first meeting, and now we're out of the honeymoon phase, we get to a place where relationships kind of get dull. And so I want to ask this question to the group: why wouldn't the five love languages work in a relationship? At what point would they not work?
I would say they wouldn't work if both people aren't on the same page and willing to be able to say that, okay, this is like, I understand your language and I'm going to work at, even though it's like a deficit, like I think that both you and Jack said that quality time isn't necessarily something that you would want to do, but because that person primary love language is that you're going to like push yourself past your comfort zone to be able to be what they need so that their love tank isn't empty, because the love tank is what we're trying to fill up so
Yeah.
people feel the love. So it wouldn't work if, even though we've talked about what our primary love languages are, and you're just like, well, I don't really talk that language, that's not something that I'm comfortable with, I really prefer to be by myself, and like, I don't really care to have to spend that much time, my primary love language is acts of service. So you need to just know that that's how I love and accept that. I think that that's when it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
One reason why I wouldn't.
I
I
I go ahead, Dominique.
No, I was just going to say I absolutely agree with that. The only way that we have to remember that a love languages is a tool, right? It is the application for what the word of God says in First Corinthians chapter 13:4. Because God describes love as being patient and kind, not being jealous, not being boastful, not being proud and rude. It is not demanding its own way. It's not irritable. It doesn't keep a record of who was wrong. It ain't petty. Okay. It does not rejoice about, injustices within the relationship. It doesn't, but it does rejoice when the truth is out within your relationship, and the air is clear within your relationship. So these are basically actual tools, or more of an application to understanding how we can take what God has to say about what love is and turning that into natural, right? So
Absolutely.
if you are unwilling to be selfless and identify and be intentional about speaking your spouse's, or not even your spouse, but the person whom you want to be spouse, I'm gonna tell you, it's not gonna work. It's like wasted time, unfortunately. You don't necessarily have to even agree with the love languages, but
Right.
if you're not doing anything to try to understand how I can love you better, maybe you're not ready to take it to the next level as far as a relationship with
I
Right.
agree.
Now, as far as why wouldn't it work, I agree with what both you guys said, but I think that the main reason why it wouldn't work is if the person doesn't know self. So what I mean by that is, after in my life,
Mm,
God is number one, but then immediately after that is me. And then come everybody else, and that's kids and everything included. And so my thing is, if I don't know self, and I don't know how I react to different love stimulus, then of course I
right.
wouldn't be able to explain that to somebody else. And so they're trying to figure out how to love me when I don't even know how to love me. So I think
Right.
that one of the main reasons why it wouldn't work, if people don't actually take the time by themselves to understand self, to know exactly how they accept love as well as how they give love.
I think
Wow.
that that's so important because I'll give a brief anecdote. So I moved back to Jacksonville in 2018. And when I moved back here, before I started my job, I had taken some time off to just kind of compress and reflect, because where I worked when I lived in Miami was extremely consuming, and it was basically a 7-day job. And what I realized was that I really did not know Dante, because I was so busy working and I was in school, and it was just go, 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 go. I was in relationships did not work. Very problematic. I didn't know why. I blamed the other person, but in part it was probably my wrongdoing as well. But I do agree with what Jax is saying, to the point where knowing yourself is so important. When I moved back here in 2018, I took time to really find out who I really am, what I do and don't like in relationship and even in myself, and start working on that and looking for, really kind of designing and praying for um, that which God would want to send to me as a mate. And then begin to identify what I do want to receive from a mate, what I don't want to receive, and be able to act accordingly when it came. So I feel like knowing yourself is so important, and it's such a powerful thing, because now I recognize that I'm much more whole now. When it comes to being in a relationship, I can be able to give all of me instead of pieces of me that I think will work just in that moment or just for the benefit of this current season or wherever we are in our relationship. So I do think that's important as well.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you guys are talking about what I would describe as self-love,
Yeah.
right? And so one of the biblical principles and one of the main commandments that Jesus said that we are to do is to love God with all our heart, with all our mind, and with all our soul, but then to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, right? And
Yeah.
so, within that, I think that we focus on, loving your neighbor. But if you don't love yourself first, and a lot of people walk around, unfortunately, and and I could say that even myself, has had points in life where I have not loved myself as I should.
Right.
When you don't love yourself where as you should, you may allow people to do or say things to you that are not what your values are. You may not create the boundaries that are required in relationships for them to be healthy and successful. You're not able to communicate what your needs are because maybe you're afraid of what those are, or you just never even taken the time. So I just think that self-love seems to be what you and Jax are talking about. And although
Absolutely.
we're talking about the 5 love languages, he may not have gotten the 5 love languages strictly from the Bible, but a lot of the things that work with relationships is biblical. You really do need to dig deep and be able to understand, okay, this is what I'm asking for because this is what I need. But at the same time, because I know that I need these things, then I can be able to give you what you need, but being able to communicate that. And as long as people are mindful of what their partner needs and they're both working actively to try to
Absolutely.
make sure that they are serving their partner. And I know that we're, I don't think any of us are married right now. That does not mean that you're not reading.
Not yet, Lord.
And you're not. And being intentional about dating, because you can date people, but doesn't necessarily mean that you're equally yoked. That's a whole nother podcast that we'll have to probably do. But the point of it is that we still know and realize that there is value in being able to serve your partner. And when you serve the other person, and I think that this is what the 5 love languages help us do, then you will be able to have some meaningful relationships, or one meaningful relationship, the one.
No, use that the first time. No, use that the first time. Go ahead, Dante.
What did you say? Multiple relationships? Okay.
Plans.
That also is another episode.
That I said earlier.
Also is another episode. I just want to ask this question before we move on. I stated something earlier, and I think that this applies to a lot of people. So for me, I recognize, as I said, through my transitions in life, or different stages and different relationships in life, I do recognize that my love languages have adjusted as I've grown and come into my own and all of this. Can you all say that overall, as you all have navigated through life or been in different relationships, that your love languages have changed too? And how did you, so that's the first question. And then the second question is, at what point did you identify that your love languages had changed or shifted?
Mine haven't much. Mine has been pretty consistent when it comes to acts of service. So that's always been a very strong number one for me. And I know April just talked about being evenly yoked. That is so important, because my thing is this, is with the quality time piece, going back to the quality time piece, I don't mind spending quality time, but what I don't like is all of your time being spent waiting on me, or you not having anything going on, and so my life, and so it's like your life is me. Like I don't like that at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
So Jack basically is saying that to be equally yoked would be to also, when you're in the dating relationship,
have a life.
Maybe you bring up where your love languages are, and then be able to say whether or not, you know what, truthfully, I may not be the person for you because I'm not good with quality time.
Right. Just I'm just saying, just have something going on.
That is not something you say on the first date.
Huh?
Hey, look, you don't wait
You can bring it up. Second, third.
No, I mean, if you're dating, number one, so it's not a conversation that you just say, "Hey, what's your love language?" That's not what we do.
But I do think that it's that there. I think in relationships, yes, there are expectations, but I think there's also a level of compromise and consideration that should be extended. So I may recognize that, just as an example, okay, I may not like quality time at all. Like I obviously like going on dates or whatever, but just say I don't like quality time at all. So you really do. You enjoy spending that time together on a frequent basis, more often than I've probably ever experienced. If I intend to be with you, that may be something that I may be open to, not for any foul reason, sex or anything like that, but that may be something that I just think exhibiting a stronger level of consideration, or having an open mind, I guess some may call it, in terms of what the other may like, will help you, one, to see things from maybe a different perspective, and then two, to just consider other people, because I think a lot of times we consider self, namely, especially at the beginning of the dating stage, and not necessarily the other person or what they're looking to. We may judge. Again, we talked about this in a previous episode. A lot of times when we're beginning to date, first date, second date, we're still putting up that representative. So I think that's something for us to be cognizant about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for me, really quick, I feel I kind of mentioned it earlier in the show where I said that I was always acts of service, but then I was a little bit of the it wasn't quality time. Oh no, I forgot it.
Physical touch.
Physical touch.
It was never physical touch, y'all. It was words of affirmation. I'm sorry. So it was words of, I think it was words of affirmation. And please forgive me if I'm wrong, but either way, acts of service, just like Jack's, was always my number one. Yeah. And it was, I want to say words of affirmation before, but now it's definitely quality time.
So and it has changed.
Yeah, definitely. Really what changed, honestly, is just the whole global pandemic kind of changed that. Because for me, it really solidified that time truly is something that we cannot get any more of. Once it's spent, it is spent. There is no, way of generating more time. And now, because of that, I am wanting to be more intentional about how I spend this time that I actually do have, and I don't, want to spend it with somebody who ain't worth the time. You know what I'm saying? So, but I just really think that's why, but that is the reason why the global pandemic, just all of this stuff going on, really just changed my perspective and understanding like what's real, and spending time with the people you love and making memories with them is real.
So with that being said, to help our viewers understand the five languages a little bit, the five love languages, a little bit more, we're going to play a little game called Name That Language, right? So remember what the five love languages are: acts of service, quality time, words of affirmation, receiving gifts, and physical touch. So I'm going to read a scenario, and the host will decide which love language applies. All right, first question. First scenario, you had a long day at work. You walk in the door after 6. You're more than delighted to see your husband or wife has made dinner and helped the kids with their homework already. Your love language is?
Quality time, acts of service.
Acts of service.
I was about to say,
Yeah,
very good. Yeah. Acts of service. Good job, guys. So the next one is you're laying down on the couch with your significant other. They take your foot in hand and begin to give you a massage. You squirm a little. They are having the time of their life. What is that love language?
Foreplay?
It's a physical touch. It's
not
foreplay.
Exit.
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 Physical touch.
Physical touch.
I'll get that foot massage though, because it's nothing like a real good foot massage.
So you don't like physical touch. You don't like physical touch, but you like a foot massage. Double standard. Next
That's
scenario.
that's all right. I'll take it.
Next scenario. Every morning, your significant other sends you a good morning text and says, handsome or beautiful, or calls you handsome and beautiful. Although you've received the same text for months, you feel like you can never hear the words enough. You speak what love language, or what love language is that considered to be?
Words of affirmation.
Yeah, words of
Affirmation.
And then the last one, you become irritated while on a date and your significant other is glued to their cell phone, but physically there. You ask a question and receive a surface answer. Oh, I hate
Yeah,
that.
that's
That would
time.
boil my blood. And y'all see me after because I got a story for that. And she's probably watching right now. But you ask the question and receive a surface answer. Your primary love language is
Quality time.
Anytime.
And that's
Quality
my
time.
love language. Like,
A
look, I don't
last
care what
date?
we doing. We can be going to get ice cream. We can be at the park. We doing rides in the car. We listening to music. If you ain't paying attention, like
I cannot stand that. That boils my blood. Even if relationship, no relationship. Even if we in a meeting or we're just talking and I'm having a conversation with you and you looking at your phone,
Oh
that is
dear.
a problem for me.
look at Jack's face, because like that's not his language. He already said he don't speak it. He don't speak it.
Y'all.
He ain't trying to give it. But look, this is the thing about quality time for me. Like,
Go
look,
ahead.
if we're there, if we're together, then it's like one of those situations where it's like surface stuff like that will irritate. Like, it's just in general, I
Yeah.
need something deep. I need you to help me grow.
Yes.
You know, I need to know that, hey, we in this together. Like, and that doesn't matter if I'm dating. It could be friendships, it's family relationships. Like, and I have been this way for as long as I know. Like,
Same.
yeah, like I just really just need people to be present, just be
Be
present.
present.
Be
So Dom,
present.
what are some
Yeah.
takeaways that we can utilize as we continue to navigate through identifying love languages or exemplifying our love languages to our spouses? What are some of the takeaways?
Dante always got to give us this long spiel to just say, what you got for the people? Okay. All right.
I'm trying to be Bryant Gumbel or Al Roker right now.
Okay, listen here. Now I'm going to just give it to you straight, okay?
Give it to us straight.
Number one, if you do not know what your love language is, we encourage you to please take the test. You can go to lovelanguages.com. You can take the free test there. They have it for every stage of life. If you're single, if you're a teenager, if you are, in a relationship,
Can we post it to this?
we can post it to this, and we will post it to this, so you don't have any excuse.
That's right.
Please take the test and learn what your love language is. Educate yourself. We said it many a time through this show so far. The next thing is have the conversation. Sometimes, guys, we get too caught up in if somebody's going to get offended. I mean, we just have to have, feel comfortable to have the conversation. Even if you don't know how to bring it up, just say, you know what? I stumbled across something unique and I read it and this is what it told me. Have you ever done this? Have you ever heard of this? That opens up the conversation. Trust me, have the conversation. It will take the relationship to the next level. Okay? Next, if you are saying to yourself, you know what, I want to prioritize this relationship, okay? Then you need to remember that you should also prioritize their what? Love language. Take the time to pay attention. If you are saying, you know what, Dom, I am not going to have no conversation, that's awkward, then just pay attention. Watch the way they move, watch their vibe, what makes their eyes light up. You know, pay attention to the person whom you're with. Be intentional and be selfless. Be selfless and give them what they need to do what our girl A said and fill up their love tank. Okay. Other than that, guys, it is nothing else left for you to do but go to our social media pages and like, share, and subscribe.
Y'all
We love
subscribe.
you. Thank you so much for coming and joining the conversation, and we will see you next week. It's your girl Diamond. We're signing off. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.